Alright guys, HyDra back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Major update yesterday coming out of the Seattle Surge. iLLeY officially released by the organisation. It's been a long time since Surge have said anything on the iLLeY situation, but just before the start of the Major 3 qualifiers, he is gone from the team. Does this give any other teams realistic chance to actually sign iLLeY, given all the buyout potential issues from Surge would now have been resolved? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. First of all, we've got to discuss something on this map set. This is from Hixie here. We have 6-star in the game now, and it's a very good map. It does, however, have some doors such as this, and we talked about these the other day, what may or may not be done about these. The fact that there's see-through doors that are bulletproof is just like, it's not the greatest design decision, is it really? And as how good as this map can play, and as how well it's laid out, there's just some decisions that Sledgehammer have made, despite designing good maps, right? I mean, this map is good, but it's like, there's a hill in the water, and then there's these doors that you can see through and can't shoot through, so it creates funky engagement and moments such as this. So maybe, I think they will probably change something there. I think they might just make them opaque. That would be probably the easiest solution, but I don't know. I guess we'll stay tuned. Now, 6-star is officially in the game in the CDL Mapset. This has been updated yesterday. Pretty sure it tends to be like the Monday or the Tuesday before the start of the qualifiers when the map pool deadline is. That's now passed, and this is what has happened. So, first of all, right, no changes to control, which to me is somewhat frustrating. The 6-star control was apparently quite close. Departures control apparently never got even trialed, but, you know, I guess it's not the end of the world. I would really have liked to see something else but invasion control, but it is what it is. We're going to have to power through. Maybe there'll be changes from now to the end of the season, but I kind of doubt it, right? But on the surface, we have at least had some, you know, serious map set changes this season. From where the hardpoint map set started to where it is now is, I think, in a much better spot, and going to be a much better spot to watch as well. We now have Rio in the game, we have Vista hardpoint, we have 6-star hardpoint as well, and 6-star search and destroy for Terminal. So Terminal is gone, Invasion hardpoint is gone, Skid Row hardpoint is gone, and Vista and 6-star are in. So I think this is a positive, all things considered. The question, I guess, for you guys is, which teams benefit from this and which teams do not? Because Vista and 6-star are maps where, certainly with the current meta, the rival is going to be the most powerful weapon, and we're probably going to see a fair few SMGs on the map. SMG-focused teams should rather like these maps. FaZe probably will like these maps, and we'll see some evidence of that later on today, and Simp actually retweets this, which kind of indicates that they're pretty happy about it. Now, would I be happy about this if I was FaZe? That is a matter for debate, just because of the map that isn't gone. I do believe that in the way these decisions have been made, there have been at least some consideration for the politics of the respective map sets, because FaZe, their worst map is Sub-Base Hardpoint, and Sub-Base Hardpoint is still in the map set, right? Given that we had 5 Hardpoints at the start of the year, with Terminal, of course, was in there as well. That was gone for Rio, as was Skid Row Search and Destroy for Rio. Now there's no more Skid Row in the entire map pool, of course, because, you know, I don't think that map was the worst, but it just wasn't especially good. There would be a debate, I would say, between getting rid of Skid Row, getting rid of Sub-Base, but Sub-Base stays. That is a map that OpTic and Toronto are particularly good at, and that is FaZe's like worst map in the entire game, the map that they automatically veto pretty much all of the time. So my expectation is that those teams are probably kind of happy with this decision, because if Sub-Base was gone, then I think FaZe get especially stronger, but the way that it currently is played out, they will have to ban that every series, which means that other teams get the opportunity, unless they improve on it dramatically, which they might. They're FaZe, I wouldn't put it past them at all. These, though, are the records of teams on those maps we have just mentioned. So obviously the top teams are going to have good records on those maps. Toronto, for example, are 4-0 on Invasion Hardpoint, 5-1 on Skid Row Hardpoint, so maps they do like, but they're good at every Hardpoint map, so, you know, you can't read into that too much, maybe. FaZe are 6-3, 4-2, 2-2, so I don't think they'll be massively angry with these maps gone, especially given the maps that are coming in, but the feeling is that they'd have probably preferred Sub-Base to go, but that's not the decision that was made. OpTic as well, I think they'll be kind of happy about this, because they played a lot of Terminal Search OpTic. I never thought they were especially good at it. They showed some signs of improvement, sure, when they played FaZe in it, for example, at the Major. they did well, but I still don't think it was, they'd improved at it, I suppose, and there is an argument now that, well, 6-star search is coming in, they've got to be good there, and probably OpTic have to look to get good at high-rise search as well. That's been their real bogey map so far this season, high-rise search. Obviously, they can't seem to get good at it, so I think they might have to try to either make that work, or they're certainly going to need to be good at the new maps in the game, such as 6-star search. This is how it looks further down, though, right? So as we get further down the field, of course, teams are getting worse, and therefore their records are getting worse. The one team to note, I guess, is Vegas, right? Because their record on all 3 of those maps was actually rather good. Invasion, Hardpoint, Skid Row, Hardpoint, and Terminal Search, they all had a positive record on for a combined 11-6, which is very good for a non-top 4 team. So arguably that might affect them, but if they like the new maps, it's not going to matter. The team really to note, I guess, is Ravens, right? Because they were shocking at Invasion Hardpoint. I know that Clay actually clarifies this when he was asked the question, well, why did you guys keep playing Invasion Hardpoint every series when you kept losing it and you lost 8 times in a row and hadn't won it once? That was the question. And, you know, Clay says, couldn't close it out in matches. Really good record on it in scrims. After Spawns and Hills changed were even worse, he says. So, yeah, not their best, of course. But the fact that they were 3-16 Ravens over those 3 map nodes makes Clay think, yeah, damn, fantastic. Don't need to get good at these maps. We'll just vote for them to be gone. And, of course, they, I guess, have their way. Speaking of that Ravens team, and I definitely wanted to discuss these guys in the coming minutes as well with regard to the iLLeY situation, but as Fellow says, finally in Charlotte, can't wait to game with the bros. So here we go. Oh my god, can you believe it? They have a, well, I don't know if it's going to be a facility per se. What I imagine they've probably done is rented out an apartment and got the boys, you know, living there so they can play in the same spot. I imagine that's what's going on, but, you know, whatever. I guess we'll see something over the coming days, but they've done it, you know. Ravens, it seems, have done it, and the boys are going to be out there in Charlotte to play, so hopefully, I mean, it really should improve their performances online, which they need to be honest, if they want to actually be a serious threat this season, because you can't start and lose as every major. You're just asking for trouble. Cammy as well, I thought there was a possibility he was going to get signed or brought up by a certain team. I thought Boston was a possibility, but of course they didn't go down that route, even though he was on their academy. They brought in Beans instead, but it's Cammy, Wake, Yeez, and 2Real who are going to be teaming up together for the stage 2 of the Elite, and of course going to the Toronto Major as well. We shall of course see whether by the time they get to the major, whether there's actually going to be the same team, because quite often what happens here in challenges is that the teams don't last especially long, but maybe iLLeY is going to change that around. iLLeY is gone from the Seattle Surge, officially announced yesterday by Surge. I didn't think they were ever going to say anything about this ever again, but they've officially done so now, and they've released iLLeY. Thanks for everything. We wish you nothing but the best in the future. Now, Surge is still in iLLeY's name, but of course, because he's gone for the organization, he's lost the blue tick, because that was associated with Luminosity, Enthusiast Gaming, Seattle Surge. That's now gone. But yeah, this is official, right? Man, what a timeline for iLLeY over the last couple of years, from being on that OpTic team and winning the event, having the thumb injury, and then being gone, and then coming back and getting dropped, and then they decided to run it back again, but it didn't last long. They dropped him after the Boston Major last year. Crazy timeline. iLLeY was back in this year, did a great job at Major 1, of course, but maybe didn't do such a great job in this interview. I did hear some discussion as well that, like, the league decides which player they want to interview, so that's probably why iLLeY was the man to be interviewed, rather than Surge kind of saying, oh yeah, Inder, do this interview for us, will you please? And kind of knowing that he might not have been in the best condition to do so. But surely if Surge really said, okay, look, Inder, I don't think we want to really be letting you do this one, the league would have said, all right, we'll get somebody else type thing. So I kind of see it from both angles there. But iLLeY's gone from the Seattle Surge. This moment, of course, was a key reason as to why. What happened behind the scenes over the last couple of months, we just don't really know. What we do know is that he's still a very talented player. And there are plenty of players, such as Hook, for example, who have got off what iLLeY was supposedly on and have done particularly well, or even improved as a result. I do wonder from iLLeY's side whether, if he's been using something to play many of his series for forever, and then he starts not doing so, from like, mentality perspective, you might feel like, oh, well, it's going to affect me to some extent. And look, we'll see. Just because the rumor is he went to play for the Minnesota Rocker, do some trials for those guys when they eventually, it seems, have gone for Gunless, and either didn't impress particularly in those trials or didn't play particularly well, and, you know, that's a question, right? Rambo, again, I don't know if this guy wants to comment on anything at some points, because this is still the most recent tweet that he's done. I just feel like he's got to say something, right? Because, like, Rambo's time with even Dallas Empire when iLLeY was there, of course, that then translated into the OpTic Texas timeline, where there was lots of debate as to what was happening there behind the scenes with iLLeY, and then the thumb injury and stepping away, and what Rambo's perception of that was, and the reason why he was gone and then eventually brought back. But iLLeY has been around a little bit lately. Obviously played very well in Major 1, especially in the Search and Destroys. iLLeY was popping into Dashy's stream the other day, very briefly, just to say hello, really, and then he, you know, went AWOL, I suppose, again, but it's good to see that he's at least around. Now, before we mention where he might go, iLLeY, just wanted to talk about the replacement, because, well, not his replacement technically, it's actually Arceti's replacement, but they confirmed both on the same day. So, iLLeY is gone, but he was already gone, right? They made the change for aBeZy, and they didn't even say anything about iLLeY. They just complete radio silence. So at least they've said something. I feel like still they should have controlled the narrative better and actually made some indication that iLLeY was gone for personal reasons or whatever you want to say. But they didn't say anything. That fueled the speculation. I don't really think that it helped anyone involved. But Arceti's is gone. He's also dropped from the organization. He's playing in Challengers right now, and O4 is coming in. This is actually a really cool story, because when this guy was first kind of coming around in Ranked and Search and Destroy trials and stuff, people thought this guy was dodgy. People thought he might have been cheating, and he was thrown into that category. Turns out he's not. He's legit, and he's done very well to rise up the ranks as quickly as he has done. Won the most recent Challengers event alongside Gunless in Miami, made that crazy 3-0 down to 4-3 reverse sweep happen in the finals against FaZe back. Definitely a talented player. Now, I think he probably can flex. I imagine he's going to be on the SMG here alongside Hook. I think that's probably how they'll do it. I think that's probably for the best, to be fair. There is an argument that is a one-man change really enough in this case. Sure, Arceti's wasn't being the most impactful as far as I'm concerned, and I do think this change should help them, but they've still got, you know, aBeZy over there who hasn't been performing particularly well. Then again, though, aBeZy can probably finally run the role that he's meant to be running, right? The main AR, the role that he came up and did particularly well in Challengers last season and was not really able to enjoy because, you know, they were trying to put him on a sub, and I don't know what they were thinking there with iLLeY and Arceti's as the ARs. But whatever you think about the changes, it has resulted in an eventuality where aBeZy was actually on the role that he should be running in the first place. So that should be good. Whether it really moves the needle much, I don't know, but hopefully the best for O4. Although I must say, as a gamer tag, he is asking for trouble, right? Because if he has a bad series, 0.4, like, you know, the storylines are already written. It's the same with Fire 40, you know, like, he was asking for it in some ways. But I did want to mention which teams can iLLeY go to, because the rumor was with Rocker, did he not sign for the Minnesota Rocker because he played poorly in their trials, or were they not able to because of some, like, buyout related shenanigans? Now, I kind of doubt that now, because if that was the case, surely they would have just been able to get the deal done, given Surge were planning to release him anyway. But yeah, Rocker are going to be Gunless, and of course Standy closing out this interesting team, and we talked about that the other day. But which team can iLLeY go to and improve? Because I think there's a few teams that he certainly should be in the consideration for. The one that really comes to mind mostly for me is probably the Ravens, right? And this is the team that I'd be keeping my eye on here if I was iLLeY and if I was, well, these guys looking to improve. Fellow has been a good force on LAN for sure, but online that has not been the case. Maybe that's going to change with the facility they've got. But just, you know, think about it on paper. With Clay and iLLeY coming back together, they teamed together in the past. iLLeY could run the flex role right on that team. Clay's is a fast-paced AR, iLLeY with potential slaying power, great search and destroy player, in addition to TJ, another great search and destroy player. And if you're a team that's in that kind of midfield and you're looking to take the next step to becoming top 4 and further and get big upsets, it's the search and destroy that really helps you, you know. If you can win 2 searches and, you know, win game 5 Neslo teams or whatever you want to say in majority of circumstances when you play good rosters, that's really valuable. So yeah, for me, the feeling of like putting Clay and iLLeY and TJ with Gwyn as the very talented SMG is quite an attractive prospect if Ravens were looking to do so, and if iLLeY was looking to make a return such as that. But if Fellow performs, then, you know, it doesn't make sense. But that's the one that I'd be keeping my eyes on. But very much intrigued your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.